The past has a way of finding you, even when you think you've moved on. In Heartland Season 19, Episode 3, titled Ghosts, old memories return like whispers in the wind, stirring the emotions of everyone at the ranch. It's not just about the horses this time. It's about the people, their pain, and the ghosts that never really leave them. This episode takes us deep into the heart of what makes Heartland so powerful: love, loss, and the courage to face what hurts most. The episode begins quietly, with the morning sun spilling across the Heartland Ranch. Everything looks peaceful on the outside, the fields glowing gold, the horses grazing, and Amy walking slowly toward the stables. But behind that calm beauty, there's a storm inside her heart. You can feel it in the silence, in the way she moves, in the way her eyes drift toward the empty space where Ty once stood. It's been years, but his memory still lingers like a ghost, not to haunt her, but to remind her of what she's lost and how far she's come. As the episode unfolds, we're reminded that this story isn't just about healing horses, it's about healing people too. Amy's gift has always been her ability to understand pain, whether it's in an animal or a person. But in ghosts, her own pain seems to be calling out for attention. There's a sense that something unresolved is pulling her backward, a shadow from her past that refuses to fade. Meanwhile, Lou is fighting her own battles. As the mayor of Hudson, she's stretched thin, trying to balance politics, motherhood, and her role at Heartland. The stress shows not in loud ways, but in quiet moments. A missed call, a forgotten promise, a sharp word that comes out harsher than she meant. It's clear that the responsibilities she carries are starting to weigh heavily, and even her usual confidence is beginning to crack. Jack, the steady rock of the family, feels it too. He's been through enough in his lifetime to know when something isn't right. In one of the early scenes, he looks out across the land and says something simple but powerful. The past doesn't just disappear. Amy, it sticks around until you face it. That line becomes the heartbeat of this entire episode, a reminder that no matter how far you run, some things have to be faced head-on. The title Ghosts fits perfectly. It's not about supernatural spirits, but about emotional ones, memories, regrets, and the echoes of the people who shaped them. Every character in this episode is haunted in their own way. For Amy, it's the memory of Ty. For Lou, it's the fear of losing control. For Jack, it's the ache of watching the people he loves carry burdens he wishes he could lift. The direction and cinematography in this episode add another layer to that theme. The lighting feels colder, the colors more muted. There's a scene where Amy stands in the barn, brushing one of the horses, and the dust floating in the air catches the light like tiny ghosts drifting between worlds. It's subtle, but it captures the mood perfectly. The idea that the past is always around us, even when we can't see it. By the time the opening sequence ends, you know this episode is going to be different. It's slower, more emotional, and deeply personal. It's not about fixing a horse or saving the ranch this time. It's about confronting the emotions that everyone's been trying to bury. The writing feels raw, the dialogue more reflective, and the silences heavier than usual, as Amy takes a deep breath and looks out at the horizon. We feel the weight of everything that's unspoken love, loss, and the quiet fear that some ghosts never really leave. And that's where the journey begins. The morning peace at Heartland doesn't last long. As the episode moves forward, the quiet energy around the ranch begins to shift, like a storm building far out on the horizon. Amy senses it first. She's training a new horse, a beautiful but nervous mare named Shadow's Grace. The horse refuses to settle, jerking at every movement and reacting as if something invisible is chasing her. Amy studies the animal, her brow furrowed, and you can almost see her recognizing something deeper, the fear that comes from loss. The same fear she's been carrying inside. The connection between Amy and this horse becomes the emotional thread of the episode. Every moment they share feels symbolic. When Amy tries to reach out, the horse pulls away. When Amy stays still, the horse begins to calm. It's as if they're reflections of each other, two souls haunted by memories they can't let go of. The show doesn't say it outright, but it doesn't need to. Heartland has always spoken through silence, through the quiet look in Amy's eyes, through the soft sound of a horse's breath in the cold morning air. Meanwhile, Lou's story takes a different turn. She's rushing through another day filled with meetings and obligations, her phone never silent. But there's a moment that stops her, a small one, yet it hits hard. She finds an old photo of the family in one of her desk drawers, taken years ago before everything changed. Her smile fades as she looks at it. You can see the weight of time pressing down the distance that's grown, the innocence that's gone. Lou tries to shake it off, but it lingers. Her ghosts aren't as obvious as Amy's. But they're there, hidden behind her responsibilities and her constant need to prove she can handle everything. Jack watches both of them, quiet and steady as always. He doesn't interfere, but his eyes say more than words ever could. There's a touching scene where he stands on the porch, mug in hand, watching Amy struggle with the horse in the paddock. He doesn't call out, doesn't offer advice. He just watches, because he knows that some lessons can't be taught. They have to be felt. Later, he tells her softly, "You can't train a horse that's scared of its own shadow until you stop being scared of yours." It's one of those lines that feels simple at first, but stays with you long after the episode ends. The pacing of this section is slow and deliberate. Every shot feels thoughtful. The music, the camera angles, even the pauses, they all work together to pull you into the character's emotions. You feel the tension without a single shout or argument. It's the kind of quiet pain that Heartland does best, subtle, real, and deeply human. As the day moves on, things start to unravel. Amy's frustration grows when Shadow's Grace refuses to cooperate. Lou snaps at one of her assistants during a call. Even Jack seems more distant than usual, caught in thoughts of his own past. The air around the ranch feels heavier now, full of things unsaid. The episode title, Ghosts, begins to make more sense. These aren't spirits in the dark. They're memories, regrets, fears that hang over every character, like invisible clouds. In one beautifully written moment, Amy finally breaks down inside the barn. She sits in the straw, her back against the wall, eyes full of tears she's been holding for too long. The light flickers through the wooden slats, dust floating in the air like faded memories. You can almost hear her thoughts, the guilt of moving on, the pain of remembering, the quiet hope that maybe healing doesn't mean forgetting. The horse approaches her slowly, cautious but curious. And in that wordless moment, you realize they're both learning to trust again. The first act of Ghosts closes on that emotional beat, soft, raw, and honest. It's not a grand revelation, but something much smaller and more powerful. Amy doesn't conquer her pain. She simply faces it. And that's where the strength of this episode lies, in the idea that healing isn't about erasing your ghosts. It's about learning to live alongside them. Night falls over Heartland, and with it comes an unsettling calm. The ranch is quiet, the sky painted in deep shades of blue and gray. You can almost feel the weight of the day pressing down on everyone, like the land itself is holding its breath. The camera lingers on Amy as she walks toward the stables one last time. She's alone, wrapped in her jacket, her footsteps soft against the dirt. This is the moment she's been avoiding all day, the one where she has to face not the horse, but herself. Inside, the barn is dimly lit. The familiar smell of hay and wood fills the air. Shadow's Grace stands in the corner, restless, ears twitching at every sound. Amy approaches slowly, speaking softly, her voice trembling just enough to show what's really going on inside. She whispers, "It's okay. I know what it's like to be scared of something you can't see." The words aren't just for the horse, they're for her too. The scene plays out like a mirror between two lost souls who finally understand each other's pain. What makes this moment powerful isn't what's said, but what's felt. As Amy reaches out, Shadow's Grace doesn't pull away this time. The horse lets her touch its mane, then its neck, finally resting its head against her shoulder. It's quiet, no music, no dialogue, just breathing. A silent connection built on shared fear and the courage to trust again. It's a metaphor for Amy's journey through grief. Realizing that her ghosts don't disappear when she stops running from them. They fade when she learns to accept them. At the same time, Lou's story comes to a turning point of its own. After a long and stressful day, she returns to the ranch late at night. She finds Jack sitting by the fire, a soft glow lighting up his weathered face. She admits she's been trying too hard, trying to fix everything, be everywhere, and prove she's strong enough for all of it. Jack doesn't give her a lecture. He just nods, takes a sip of his coffee, and says, "You don't have to carry everyone, Lou. Sometimes it's enough just to be here." It's the kind of simple wisdom that cuts straight through the noise, a line that perfectly captures the quiet strength Heartland has always been about. The emotional threads of the episode begin to tie together here. Each character, Amy, Lou, and Jack, has been haunted in different ways, but their healing happens in silence, not speeches. The cinematography helps drive that message. Long shots of the ranch at night, the soft sound of wind through the trees, the gentle hum of life continuing. It's poetic in its simplicity, reminding us that even when the ghosts of the past follow you, the world keeps turning, and so must you. As dawn breaks, the episode reaches its closing sequence. Amy leads Shadow's Grace out into the open field, the morning light washing over them both. The horse moves freely now, calm and confident, no longer flinching at every sound. Amy smiles, not the bright, carefree smile of old, but something smaller, softer, earned. It's the smile of someone who's made peace with her past. In that single look, we see the entire journey of ghosts, pain, acceptance, and quiet strength. The episode's ending scene ties everything together beautifully. Amy stands at the fence, watching the sunrise, and Jack joins her. They don't talk about the horse or the past. They just stand there, side by side, looking out at the horizon. Jack puts a hand on her shoulder and says, "You can't change the past, but you can stop letting it chase you." Amy nods, her eyes glistening with tears that don't fall. That's the emotional closure Heartland fans live for. Honest, it's heartfelt, and real. The screen fades to black on that image, Amy and Jack standing in the light of a new morning. The ghosts that haunted them are still there, but quieter now. Not gone, just understood. And that's the beauty of this episode. It doesn't promise that pain disappears. It shows that healing means learning to live with it, to carry it without letting it define you. By the end, the audience is left with a feeling of calm, a quiet, lingering warmth that stays long after the credits roll. Heartland doesn't rely on shock or spectacle. It wins you over with honesty. And Ghosts might just be one of the most emotional, beautifully written episodes of the season because of that truth. Every episode of Heartland carries an emotional heartbeat, a quiet truth that stays with you long after the screen fades to black. In Ghosts, that truth is simple. Healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about learning to live beside it. The ghosts in this episode aren't spirits haunting the ranch. They're the memories that cling to the people who call it home. And the way each character faces their own ghost tells us something important about love, grief, and growth. Amy's journey in this episode is more than just about taming a horse. Shadow's Grace becomes a mirror for her soul, wild, restless, and scarred by something unseen. From the moment Amy touches the reins, we can sense her hesitation. It's not fear of failure. It's the fear of reopening old wounds. For seasons now, Amy has carried the shadow of Ty's loss quietly, like a hidden scar she doesn't want anyone to notice. But in this episode, that grief resurfaces, not to break her, but to remind her she's still human. When Shadow's Grace finally trusts her, it isn't just a victory in training, it's a moment of emotional surrender. Amy learns that strength doesn't mean being unshaken. Sometimes, it means shaking until you can stand again. Lou's story runs parallel, but in a different emotional language. Her ghosts aren't tied to love lost. They're born from pressure, from the impossible standards she sets for herself. She's the fixer, the caretaker, the leader, but even the strongest hearts crack when they're stretched too thin. The scene where she stares at the old family photo is brief but loaded with meaning. It's a reminder that time changes everything, faces, priorities, even relationships. Yet deep down, she still carries that longing to hold the family together, just like she did years ago. When Jack tells her she doesn't have to carry everyone, It's not advice, it's permission. Permission to rest. Permission to breathe. And that in itself is healing. Then there's Jack, the unshakable center of Heartland. His ghost is quieter, more personal. It's the ache of age, the sorrow of watching life move forward while memories fade behind him. Jack has seen loss before, and he knows pain can't be outrun. That's why he never tries to control Amy or lose emotions. He simply reminds them, through his actions, his words, and his silence, that peace comes from acceptance, not resistance. His wisdom in this episode feels earned, like something carved into the wood of the ranch itself. Jack isn't haunted by ghosts anymore. He's learned to talk to them, to make peace with what once hurt, visually and emotionally. Ghost stands out because of its restraint. The cinematography doesn't shout for attention, it whispers. Every frame feels intentional, every pause meaningful. The way the morning light hits the fields, the distant sound of horses breathing, the quiet hum of wind, they all add to the feeling that life keeps moving no matter how heavy our hearts become. It's a reminder that healing isn't a single moment. It's a slow, patient process that unfolds in the small spaces between pain and peace. Thematically, Ghosts explores something deeply human, the way we hold on to the past, even when it hurts us. For Amy, it's about learning that remembering Ty doesn't mean she can't move forward. For Lou, it's about realizing that strength isn't in control, but in vulnerability. And for Jack, it's about finding grace in the quiet acceptance of life's changes. Each story weaves together into one simple but powerful truth. Sometimes the only way to silence your ghosts is to listen to what they're trying to tell you. As the episode closes, the message becomes clear. The ghosts never really leave, they just change shape. They turn into lessons, memories, and quiet reminders of who we used to be. And that's what makes Heartland timeless. It doesn't give you happy endings. It gives you real ones, the kind where people still hurt, still hope, and still wake up to face another sunrise. So when Amy smiles at the end, standing in that golden light, it's not just a smile of relief. It's a promise. A promise that no matter how heavy the past feels, there's always a way forward, one step, one breath, one sunrise at a time. That's what Ghosts is really about. Finding peace, not by letting go of the past, but by learning to walk beside it. The episode ends not with a dramatic twist, but with something far more meaningful: silence. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any dialogue ever could. The camera drifts over the Heartland Ranch as dawn paints the world in gold. The horses move slowly through the mist. Jack's old truck sits by the barn, and Amy stands by the fence, watching the first light of morning break across the fields. The storm that's been building all episode, both outside and inside, has finally passed. What's left is calm. Not the calm of emptiness, but of acceptance. There's a deep sense of stillness in this ending. Amy doesn't need to say a word. Her expression tells the whole story. She's tired, she's hurting, but she's okay. That's the beauty of Heartland. It doesn't rush healing. It lets it breathe. It lets it ache. It shows us that grief doesn't disappear overnight. It just becomes lighter, easier to carry. The ghosts that once haunted her have softened into memories that no longer hurt as sharply. Lou too finds her quiet closure. She returns home from a long night of reflection and catches sight of her daughters laughing in the kitchen. For a moment, she simply watches. No interruptions, no distractions. It's the first time in the episode we see her truly still. The weight on her shoulders doesn't vanish, but it feels manageable now. Sometimes that's all we can ask for, a little peace in the middle of chaos. Jack, ever the anchor, ends the episode sitting on the porch, coffee in hand, looking out toward the hills. There's something eternal about him, like he's part of the land itself. When Amy joins him, they share a quiet smile. No words, no dramatic music. Just two souls, bound by love and loss, sitting together in the calm. It's a simple ending, but that's what makes it unforgettable. Heartland doesn't need fireworks. It needs truth. The camera pans upward, capturing the wide Alberta sky. The music swells softly, gentle piano notes mixed with the sound of wind. It's not a sad tune, but a hopeful one. It carries the feeling that every ending is also a beginning. The title Ghosts now feels less like a haunting and more like a whisper, a reminder that the people we've loved, the things we've lost, and the pain we've endured never truly leave us. They stay shaping who we are, guiding us toward who we're meant to become. As the screen fades to black, we're left with a warmth that lingers. Heartland has always been about family, forgiveness, and finding strength in the small things. A cup of coffee shared in silence, a hand on your shoulder, a sunrise that promises another day. Episode 3 captures that perfectly. It's not about saying goodbye to the ghosts. It's about learning to live with them, to let them walk beside you without fear. And that's what makes Ghosts one of the most emotionally resonant episodes of the season. It reminds us that the past isn't our enemy, it's our teacher. Amy's journey with Shadow's grace, Lou's struggle for balance, and Jack's quiet wisdom all point to the same truth. Sometimes healing means standing still long enough to feel everything you've been running from. As viewers, we don't just watch this episode, we feel it. Every look, every pause, every ray of light carries emotion. It's an episode that doesn't need to tell us what to think. It invites us to feel what the characters feel. And that's the real power of Heartland.